Hey Dave, how you doing?
Hey Craig, pretty good, thanks. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, yeah, very well, very well. I was expecting that moment of just pause where I couldn't hear you or you couldn't see or hear me, and we all just canned it again like I did with Dan last week. But yeah, yeah, the picture's not great, but the audio's very good.
Okay, that's good. I'm on 3G, so the video looks a bit choppy your side, but I can hear you fine. So
Good, good. Well, I'm on Wi-Fi, but I've had to retreat upstairs into the probably the furthest point from my Wi-Fi router I could possibly find because it's furthest away from the kids. So yeah, that's probably not
okay,
helping my situation either. I think in future I need to plan this when I can actually get connected to the actual hardwired connection. That might be an advantage.
yeah, probably right. I'm amazed it's working so well over this mobile connection though. So
Yeah, it's doing very well. I raised my eyebrows when you said I'm on 3G here because it's fingers crossed it's doing very very well.
good stuff.
So.
We're on our own though, by the looks of it.
Yeah, yeah, just you and I. Well, I must admit, I was thinking to myself, well, I'll give it till 22, and I'll can it there. So thanks for dropping in.
Yeah,
I picked up your comment on the blog about obviously this chat's about the old. It's not how we say things. It's not what we say sometimes. It's how we say things. And that piece of technology that I caught a glimpse of at Learning Technologies that not only measures what you're saying, but how you're saying it and what you look like when you say it, which I think is an interesting step forward from just clicking, lack of context text on a screen. But you actually had quite a good comeback to that, didn't you? And actually, consider, is this actually anything new as such? So do you want to expand upon that?
yeah. It was literally a brainwave there and then. I thought, well, where that that looks like kind of 5 years ahead to technology, probably before it starts to really get established. I think. But I love the idea that we wanted to go beyond the clicking, the selection from a choice of three. Obvious, it's going to be obvious, isn't it? Do you want to sound A, sincere, B, insincere, C, disinterested? It's really not. It's not that hard to work out. So to get someone to actually record something in their best customer service voice and expressiveness, then have someone else look at it. It's a great way of doing it, and sort of in an ideal world that would be face to face in a classroom, but taking it online, there's no reason today with the technology even that we're using now, we can
Yeah,
just record a quick clip, send it off, and then get some feedback and critique on it. So you
yeah.
could even share that more widely. You wouldn't even necessarily have to just have one person critique it. You can get a number of different people look at it. Maybe even other people who are taking the same course.
Yeah, I quite like that aspect that you've mentioned there about actually about taking that response, whether it's verbal or visual or a combination of both, and sharing it with others, which perhaps isn't something I don't know enough about this tool that I saw, but perhaps that's not something that it does. But one concern of mine about not necessarily your approach, but just this whole thing in general is I just wonder, especially if you're working something like an open plan office, just how many
Yeah.
people are going to sit there with a headset on like you've got and interact
Yep.
and have this very one-sided conversation with a computer that nobody else can hear. I just wonder
Yep.
how genuine that's going to be.
I agree. Yeah, I think that's a challenge. You've got to put those things in place so that the learner is comfortable with it. I think.
Yeah,
Um, you know,
just been joined
but
by Mike Taylor there. Hi Mike.
I believe so.
Hello Mike. Oh, Mike's typing away, I can see. Hi there Mike.
Okay.
I guess he can't hear us.
Where's the chat? I've got to find the chat button.
He's got no video today. If you look in the top left hand corner, you should see a small button saying chat. Certainly it is on my screen.
Yep, I see it. That's just. Oh yeah, there we go.
So I'm just asking Mike if he can hear us. He may be able to
Yeah, I
join
can
in
see.
via text. So yeah, it's he said he'll listen and he'll chime in. We're just talking here, Mike, about the latest series of blog posts that I've written about a piece of technology I saw at Learning Technologies that allows you to talk to the system. So rather than it being very one-dimensional and just clicking answers on a screen, you can actually respond verbally to the computer, to the system, and it not only measures what you say, but it measures how you say it and how you look like when you say it, and provides feedback and responses based upon that. And Dave and I there were just we were just talking about the pros and cons of doing that. Dave was saying that you know, we could actually do this now, although it perhaps wouldn't be as dynamic, and perhaps there'd be something of a lag between asking the question, providing the response, and getting human feedback. And then I also said that, you know, would we realistically do this in an open plan environment? Would we sit down with our headphones on and have a one-sided conversation? Part of me is thinking no, but then another part of me is looking at Dave there, who's actually got a headset on. He's having a conversation with me. So I'm just wondering just how different it would be to actually verbally interact with a piece of learning as opposed to, you know, interacting via your mouse or keyboard. So you know, you try and keep up with that with a typed response. Good luck with that, mate. I'm also quite. It sounds like a peek into the future. Yeah, it certainly sounded like it. But actually, from what I saw and spoke about at Learning Technologies, the guy in question is actually doing this with two different organisations. One of which a lot of people have heard of, and one of which, believe me, I think everybody on the surface of the planet will have heard of. Very, very big in the hospitality sort of sector. Very, very big indeed. One organisation was going to use internal webcams, and another one was looking at using Microsoft Connect, which obviously gives perhaps a much richer feel to things, and perhaps allows them to do a lot more. So it was just interesting to see that there were two technologies being used. One a very, very established one, you know, webcams, and one perhaps a little bit more leading edge in terms of the Connect.
I think Mike killed the point there about people having to catch up with technology. I think I was going to make exactly the same point, really. If you think about e-learning when that was first being used, and there's obviously a ramp-up period when there's resistance and people aren't comfortable with it. And today, if you say you've got to do some e-learning, people know what they're going to expect. They're totally comfortable with that. They're fine with having some audio that they need to listen to as well. So definitely, there's a cultural thing, and particularly in the workplace, that's always going to be more of a challenge probably than it is in the real world. But when you've got this kind of benefit from it, I think it's going to be. You know, it's going to be part of the future. I think just depends how quickly people catch on.
Yeah. As always, you know, the tech can be in place as much as we want, but just because we build it doesn't necessarily mean that people will flood to it. What I quite liked about this approach is for me, what it was doing is it was actually taking separate things that I think are actually quite well embedded in the way we do things. And it was taking e-learning, which we know traditional e-learning. It was taking the ability to talk into a headset, just like you're doing now, Dave, whether that's in a web conference, whether that's on Skype, whether it's in a Google Plus Hangout. So although that's perhaps still gaining popularity, I still think that for many people, particularly with the popularity of Skype, the ability to talk to the internet, to talk to a system is something that people are quite well accustomed to now. And for me, it was actually bringing them both together. That maybe the bringing them together is different enough for it to put people off, but I think the two things in isolation are quite well established. It's just a case of, would bringing them together mean that everyone would flock to it, or would bringing them together mean that it would become something different and therefore people would step back from it, I wonder.
I think it depends how painful or painless it is. If it's done smoothly, then someone can get their heads around it straight away, then it's more likely to take off. Obviously, if it's a bit glitchy, then they're not going to see the benefit of it, and it's just going to be another hassle factor instead of a benefit.
Yeah, I think you're spot on there. You look at traditional click next e-learning back in the day. You know, lots of people had bad experiences with it. You know, the systems are now mature enough. Our knowledge about how to use it to good effect is mature enough now to try and make sure we don't repeat those mistakes. But you know, lots and lots of people have got, you know, bad memories, and you know, they still remember back to the early days of CBT and how off-putting that was, and they still put off it now. So I've got.
Mike's got his thesaurus out and he's using long words.
He is serendipitous applications. But you must be in a different time zone to us, Mike. I don't know whether you've just got up or it's the end of the day for you, but just after lunch for me on a Tuesday is a big ask. Serendipitous applications, love it. I'm going to wrap this up for now, guys. For me, this was, I mean, it was good to have a conversation about this, and I think we can be much more agile in discussing something like this when we're doing it through a tool like this than necessarily typing away on a keyboard and getting that asynchronous response. But for me, this was a big experiment just to see, you know, how a Google Plus Hangout would work when we were using it for a real-time application. I've done Google Plus Hangouts before where we just have done them to see how it works. It's just breakfast there. But actually, to concentrate on a specific subject and talk about it, around a specific focus, I've never done that before, so it was interesting to see how that works. I think I've been recording this in Screencast-O-Matic, so it'd be quite interesting to see what the output's like and maybe be able to share that online if you're both comfortable with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, well, without further ado, thanks very much, Dave. Thanks ever so much, Mike, for joining us from the States. That's really appreciated. Thanks very much for interrupting your breakfast for it, and you know, maybe do it again next time. Thank you.
Thanks, Beth. Bye.
Cheers, guys. Bye.